Without wasting time, may I request Dr. U.R.K. Rao to decade of progress in the management of rheumatoid arthritis. Thank you, Rao. Rao is the past president of the Indian Rheumatology Association. He was also founder of the Rheumatology chapter of Andhra Pradesh. He was formerly professor in Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences. And the very well-known rheumatologist in the country. He is the editor of the Manual of Rheumatology, which is brought out by the Indian Rheumatology Association last 3 editions. And he has put tremendous effort. And he has also very vast experience in the development of new molecules, which he is very closely associated. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for your kind words, Chairperson, Dr. Mahendranath. And thank you very much for the Shandre, Dr. Chandrasekhara, Dr. Renuka, and their team. Greetings from Hyderabad. The next 30 minutes, I would like to give a gist of the decade of development. It's very apt that Dr. Chandrasekhara's, the Shandre, has come up a decade, and then we have exciting developments in the rheumatology in general and rheumatoid arthritis in particular. The concept that rheumatology is a disorder of osteoarthritis, everybody gets joint pains, there is no cure, there is no much treatment in allopathy. There's so many misconceptions are still lingering, but we came all the way to at least nullify some of them, and you will be seeing that. In the agenda, we go to early aggressive therapy of rheumatoid arthritis, the traditional disease-modifying anti-rheumatoid drugs, the biologic agents, and the last couple of years we have small molecules. Rheumatoid arthritis, as you know, it's the commonest autoimmune or immunoinflammatory arthritis. Though we have several of others, psoriatic, ankylosing spondylitis, reactive, enteropathic. But if you take arthritis as a whole, osteoarthritis is the commonest, you can say. It's one of the degenerative and inflammatory arthritis. But I am now concentrating on the rheumatoid arthritis. It's a real problem. In a population beyond 100 million, we have, even if you take 0.5 to 1%, so there are several of the lakhs of patients suffering from rheumatoid arthritis. When I was studying in All India Institute of Medical Sciences way back, Professor Malaviya was my teacher, so we did a study that 0.75% prevalence of rheumatoid arthritis in our country. What happens if we don't treat? This is the picture which I have taken from one of our books, Kelly's, in 1800s. So this is the outcome of the patient, which we don't see nowadays. You can see the metacarpophalangeals, proximal interphalangeal joints, the deformities of the arthritis. If we don't treat them, the early rheumatoid arthritis goes like this. And the function will be reduced, quality of life will be reduced, work disability is increased, and life expectancy is also decreased. And you can see the advancing rheumatoid arthritis like joint failure here, where we cannot do anything. So try to catch them up here. And rheumatoid arthritis is not just a joint problem, it is a systemic disease. That's why we call it rheumatoid disease. It increases the mortality, increases the disability at least 7-fold higher, and after 3 decades or 2 to 3 decades, without optimal treatment, they may need help till they die, the patients. And also they're emotionally, financially broke up. If you say the general population, the survival, it's about 1 decade earlier in patients with rheumatoid arthritis, and a couple of decades earlier if they also have systemic manifestations such as dry eyes, interstitial lung disease, vasculitis, which I'll just show a few slides. This is which one actually we have done a small study of ocular complications. The keratoconjunctivitis sicca, dry eye syndrome, Sjogren's is one of the common features. Interstitial lung disease, vasculitis. There are certain other features. Cardiovascular risk factors. This is now increasingly recognized that a chronic inflammation like rheumatoid arthritis, chronic periodontitis, they are all atherogenic. They have cardiovascular risk factors are increased. So we did a small study and presented in American College of Rheumatology about 3 years ago. They conclude Indian population themselves are actually prone for cardiovascular morbidity and mortality. Then the features like the rheumatoid association of rheumatoid arthritis enhances the risk factors. So you have to treat. So it's not just a joint problem, it is a systemic problem. The aims of therapy are to control the rheumatoid inflammation as soon as and as efficiently as possible, slowing progression of the structural damage. Here the structures are the joints, and restoring patients functionally and assuring short and long-term safety of the drugs. Of course, this has to be remembered when we are giving the medication. So this is the gist of my talk. Early use of disease-modifying anti-rheumatoid drugs, frequent follow-up visits, rapid escalation of therapy. For example, all of us know that methotrexate, which was supposed to be an anti-cancer drug, but which has established its role in rheumatology for the last 3 decades, increase the dose. We were giving 7.5 milligram a week. Now we can go even up to 20 to 25 mg per week, however, with the monitoring side effects. So rapid escalation of therapy, use of combination, methotrexate, hydroxychloroquine sulfate, or sulfasalazine or leflunomide. Use of biologic agents. This is the one which has actually seen in the last decade. And use of second-line biologic agents, and proper use of glucocorticoids as ancillary medications. The brief delay of therapy affects the progression of structural damage. You can see here, even the therapy delayed by a few days increases the structural damage. So the early treatment has a potential to slow the course of RA. This is a natural course. If you don't treat, that's how the volume of the disease will increase. Even if in the later treatment it reduces, but the best thing is early treatment. It does progress. However, you can halt the progression. Nowadays, now our aim is to reduce the disease activity or even to achieve the remission. Remission is possible in only infectious diseases, tuberculosis, typhoid, malaria. Remission is not possible in diabetes, hypertension, where you have to continue to have the treatment. But in rheumatoid arthritis, where we thought it is not possible to achieve remission, now probably we may do that. We may get remission. So, but to achieve that, you have to hit hard, hit early. The disease onset is early, and if you treat early, like we have seen in the previous slide, the results are also good. Established and end stage, we treat, the results would be later and also insufficient. So in the last decade, we have also seen the classification criteria. New American College of Rheumatology and European League Against Rheumatism criteria for RA classification. Treat to target. This is the one which has come, our fashion of us rheumatologists today. Treat to target. The target is low disease activity or even remission. Remission is no joint pain, no joint tenderness, morning stiffness is less than 15 minutes, ESR is less than 28 millimeters first hour, and no disability. So this management improved by the newer criteria and newer lab investigations. Sometimes rheumatoid factor may be negative, but the patient has clinically active rheumatoid arthritis, anti-CCP antibodies. Dr. Renuka would enlighten more on next subsequent talks. So we have newer diagnostic developments to diagnose early and also start the treatment early. So turning recommendations into optimal treatment strategies. The recommendations are short goal, treat to targets. So diagnose early, aim at remission or low disease activity, tight control, treat RA dynamically, whole armamentarium of therapies, and shared decision between the doctor and patient. This is very important. Patient also has to be a part of the treatment plan. So doctor, the team, physiotherapist, the patient herself. The algorithm is to achieve the remission or low disease activity. That's what I was mentioning. The active rheumatoid arthritis, adapt therapy according to the disease activity, and also the state is lost, then assess the disease activity every 3 to 6 months. So we continue to have a sustained remission. In tuberculosis, after say 6 to 9 months therapy, you can stop the treatment. But in rheumatoid arthritis and other inflammatory arthropathies, once you achieve the remission, you also continue to treat, albeit lower dosage of the drugs. But you cannot stop. Well, this stoppage can occur in like 10 to 15 lucky individuals, but we tend to continue the treatment to sustain the remission. So these are the recommendations of the 2012 ACR recommendations, which all of us follow in globally. Target is a low disease activity or remission. The disease activity low or high. Disease activity is measured by several measurements, which I am not going to tell you. They are cumbersome and boresome also. We use them in the clinical drug trials. We, myself, Dr. Chandrasekhara, and there are several rheumatologists are participating in global clinical drug trials to see the newer developments in the medication of the rheumatoid arthritis. So this is recommendations on the established rheumatoid arthritis, which I have mentioned already, have been given an algorithm. But just to conclude, the recommendations: early and aggressive therapy, combination therapy, treat to target, monitoring, routine care. These guidelines are only guidelines, but the individualized the patient's care. The key decision points in the treatment: disease progression, initiating therapy, when to start the choice of first line therapy, and escalating therapy. First month you give, say for example, methotrexate, traditional disease modifying drug, 10 milligrams, then 15 milligrams, then rapidly escalate the therapy if the patient does not show improvement, or combine with other traditional disease modifying drugs. Even at the end of 6 months to 1 year, if they do not achieve, if they can afford, start biologic agents. And maintain the remissions is more important. Just in the conclusion, sustained remission demonstrated superiority in limiting radiographic progression compared with intermittent remission. So give the treatment, patient attain remission, then stop, then give, that's good, not good. So you have to continue the treatment. Treatment here involves patient education, then occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and medication. So not just pharmacotherapy, though pharmacotherapy is the important one in this treatment pattern. Well, there are several developments also have come. At this position, probably whatever the number of medication we give may not achieve remission, then these patients may need surgery. And surgical I am not touching upon, but I assure you that there are several newer developments of the surgical developments have occurred in the, especially knee replacement, hip replacement. The treatment strategies are sequential monotherapy, step-up therapy, which I was mentioning, that we have to add more medicines or increase the dose, induction therapy. Like in oncology, we have induction, consolidation, and maintenance. So we take the cue from oncologist and induce the remission or reduce the inflammatory burden by using combination therapy or the higher doses. As the patient develops more and more disease activity, how do you achieve how do you know the disease activity? For example, women get more disease of rheumatoid arthritis and most of the inflammatory arthritis. Then more joints affected, say the MCP joints, the elbows, knees, and rheumatoid factor is higher titers. The ESR is high, and patient's morning stiffness is more. Patients have to get up 1 hour. The patient takes time to get up, then do the activities of the daily course. So these are all parameters for disease activity. Of course, we have some genetic tests like DR, B1, etc., but I'm not going too much into that. So induction therapy may be helpful in such individuals, combination of DMARDs and also biologics. Of course, target to tight control. We have done a few studies, and then Dr. Chandrasekhar also had done a few studies on the drugs which are available traditionally. which we have presented in latest Indian Rheumatology Association conference done in Ahmedabad a few days ago. Leflunomide with or without loading dose, what are the side effects? So we still continue to see the developments in the traditional DMARDs. And prednisolone, when I was studying in All India Medical Sciences, we used to think people used to get steroids unnecessarily, and then even now many patients and doctors think the steroids are being abused. The steroids have a role to bridge the therapy. Like if you give medication, there is some time lag between the initiation of the medication and see the development or the symptoms coming down, the patient is getting better. So to bridge that therapy, we can give steroids. Or whenever there is a flare, like in winter, some infection, then you can give a sort of injection steroids. But several papers are appearing in the literature. Low dose steroids initially, when the disease is active, I told you already the parameters, they do some sort of a disease modifying effect. So the prednisolone has come back its role. Chloroquine is the baseline treatment for rheumatoid arthritis, and methotrexate is also baseline treatment. Methotrexate is in fact baseline, but hydroxychloroquine can be a combination. So the future of RA, building on what we know and tailoring treatment, biologic therapies beyond conventional DMARDs. The conventional DMARDs are the ones which I have given a big row of them: methotrexate, sulfasalazine, leflunomide, hydroxychloroquine, etc. The biologics are tumor necrosis factor inhibitors. The conventional drugs give only 50% of relief. So what about the other 50%? Then you may use to have combination therapy or biologic agents. I would like to draw your attention to this slide carefully. Antigen presenting cell, these are co-stimulatory markers. The major histocompatibility complex, T cell receptor, this is the T cell. And the activated macrophage, activated B cell, they produce the rheumatoid factors, interleukin 6. The macrophages produce interleukin 6 tumor necrosis factors. These are called cytokines. What are cytokines? These are proteins produced by the cell. See, in the inflammation, the cell-to-cell talk is through cytokines. And cytokines can positively influence the inflammation or negatively influence the inflammation. I mean, they may increase the inflammation or reduce the inflammation. So once this T cell is the center, the interferons, IL, interleukins, tumor necrosis factor, all of them orchestrate in the development of erosions, chondrocytes, osteocytes, then inflammation and destruction. So you have to kill the cells which produce cytokines, or you have to block at several places. So that means cytokine inhibitors. One of the latest one is abatacept, etanercept, infliximab have come a decade ago, but in this decade we have other biologic agents such as abatacept. We have about 9 biologic agents available all over the world, and in India we have 5 agents. The side effects of course are there, but fortunately the side effects are very less in the biologic agents which we give, and also in India we may not be able to give for a long time. It's maybe 3 to 6 months. Infusion reactions, infections and other organs. I'll come to that later on during discussion. We did a small study. As I was mentioning in oncology, like we have taken a cue from oncologists, biologic agents, we took etanercept, which helps reducing the disease activity in patients with active RA. Despite methotrexate, all these patients are on methotrexate around 15 milligrams per week. Then we have added etanercept. We took the principle of cancer treatment, induction, consolidation, maintenance. Etanercept is added as a short course in patients with active RA with a suboptimal response to traditional DMARDs. This abstract has been presented in Yokohama, Japan. We took 30 patients with active RA, all of them are on methotrexate. Of course, females outnumber, seropositive, all of them are seropositive. Around 50 years is the mean age, duration is 6.5 years. All of the patients are on NSAIDs, and most of them are on steroids, and all of them are on methotrexate and combination treatment. tender joint count, swollen joint count, visual analog scale, ESR, disease activity score. These are all the scores which we do on any clinical drug trial. And here any treatment strategy which we involve. You can see here, so many patients have tender joint count despite methotrexate. After using a biologic agent, in this case etanercept, it has come down to 4.5. And also the swollen joint count. The visual analog scale, if you take 0 to 100 millimeters, the pain is very severe in 100 millimeters, no pain is 0. So the ESR are still high. So they need to continue. We did only for 3 months. And disease activity score, this is a score, and there are several other instruments which we score them. So the benefit of short course of any biologic, in this case etanercept, we could reduce the NSAIDs, we can improve the symptoms and the signs of the disease. And the other one is adalimumab, which is not available in our country. MAB means monoclonal antibody. CEPT means it is a soluble receptor antagonist. So we have TNF blockers. Now I have mentioned the biologic agents which are useful when the traditional DMARDs are not helpful. So even if TNF blockers are not helpful, what we do? Like you have in tuberculosis, we have now multi-drug resistance, then what we do? The same way, it's not resistance here, but they do not either tolerate or do not respond. Optimizing outcomes in patients with rheumatoid arthritis and inadequate response to anti-TNF treatment. So now we have other cytokines like interleukin 6, tocilizumab, which is available in India, IL-6 inhibitor. It's a humanized monoclonal antibody. So here it inhibits the IL-6. The previous ones inhibit tumor necrosis factors. This is interleukin 6. Interleukin 6 has numerous articular effects in rheumatoid arthritis. They help in antibody production and also the pannus formation, that is the synovial thickening, joint destruction and mediation of the chronic inflammation. So if you, this is the central part. If you inhibit this, probably you can inhibit other ongoing processes. Then B cell. So we have anti-B cell therapy, rituximab. Rituximab is available by international brand as well as Mapthera, and then now generic one, Reditux. So here it attacks the CD20. CD means cluster differentiation. So it attacks the CD20 but not the formed B cells. So you do not have immunoglobulin deficiency, you do not have increased infections, but only inflammation will be reduced. I would like to draw your attention. Whatever I mentioned appears in this slide. See, abatacept is one of the latest ones. Then it activated T cells, you can see here, activated macrophage, which produces the several cytokines, interleukins and tumor necrosis factors. Activated B cell produces the rheumatoid factors, interleukin 6, and inflammation continues. Rituximab attacks the B cells. Tocilizumab attacks the interleukin 6. Etanercept, infliximab, adalimumab attack the tumor necrosis factors. So that's how we have several cells at the several cellular pathways. The current armamentarium of biologic agents, which I do not bore you, but we can, I can let you know during our conversation during the breaks. We have available abatacept, then etanercept, golimumab. We did a few trials. Infliximab is available, rituximab is available, tocilizumab available. The structure, action which we have already shown, the dosage differs from each molecule, and the side effects. So the next one is the very exciting area of rheumatoid arthritis treatment. The next 10 to 15 minutes. Where are we between traditional DMARDs and biologicals? In 1920s, you have gold. I think you might have heard gold injections we used to give. Then D-penicillamine, later on methotrexate. The drug action is not known. We have taken those drugs from other departments, like sulfasalazine in ulcerative colitis, methotrexate, anti-cancer drug, chloroquine, anti-malarial drug. Leflunomide is the only one which has been produced for the sake of rheumatoid arthritis. In the biologics which I have mentioned at length, new technologies, significant advances, cytokines and cytokine receptors. Now this is the exciting area in 2000s, last decade. Signaling pathways, advances in our understanding has uncovered the importance of cytokine network. These intracellular pathways may represent new approaches. Yeah, look at this. See what happens to these biologic agents? They are attacking the adhesion molecules, so reduce the cell recruitment. They attack the cytokines and growth factors. So they are attacking the products from the cell. So the now hypothesis is, why don't you stop the production of the inflammatory cytokines? Instead of allowing this inflammatory cell to produce the cytokines, then attacking them, why don't you stop the production itself? So that is the exciting area now. Intracellular targets, these are extracellular targets. Small molecules, tyrosine kinases, threonine kinases, this is a transcription at the cell. So I'll go back, which I have intracellular signaling, cytokines, intracellular signaling, there are several of them. This is intercellular signaling, which I have shown. The receptor attaches to the receptor, the ligand attaches to the receptor and stimulates the intracellular signaling. The cytokines recruit cells, activate the inflammatory cells, they produce the cytokines, activate, attaches to the receptor and further produces. This is called positive feedback. So either you attack the cytokines or you intracellularly you try to inhibit the signaling pathway. There are several receptors. You may not know me, U.R.K. Rao, but Dr. Mahendranath introduced me as U.R.K. Rao. Now you know me, who I am. Same way, the receptor, the signaling, this is a receptor, and the cell does not know what is attacking that unless it is going through the receptor. And once through the receptors, there are several signaling pathways. They are called transduction signals. And those transduction signals translocate into the nucleus and translate, transcription it is called, gene transcription. Whatever, this is actually cellular phenomena which we might have read in physiology and pathology. So to attract these cells, you have to have so many intracellular pathways, and the nucleus, then there will be mRNA, the production of cytokines or whatever. The nature produces this to enable us to defend ourselves from cancer, from infection, from tuberculosis, etc. Intracellular signal inhibitors, tyrosine kinase inhibitors, mitogen activated inhibitors, transcription factors inhibitors. Tyrosine kinase inhibitors are JAK kinase, tofacitinib. You might have read in the papers that this US FDA, that the United States Food and Drug Administration has approved a new molecule which is oral. By the way, the cytokine antagonists like biologics are all parenteral. You can't give orally. Whereas a drug which acts like that is a tofacitinib, which is a JAK kinase, Janus kinase inhibitors, is an oral agent. Then again fostamatinib. These are all called small molecules. Why small molecules? They are less than 1 kilodalton, is around 800 daltons. The biologic agents are very big ones. These agents are available for oral administration. They may have less adverse events and less expensive, though the tofacitinib did not prove to be less expensive. They are classified as follows: cytokines, antagonists, cellular surface marker, intracellular signal inhibitors. Janus kinase is a family of intracellular non-receptor tyrosine kinases that transduce cytokine mediated signals via the JAK STAT. STAT is signal transducer and activator of transcription. I will show you a cartoon where you will understand that. Janus kinase is just initially named as just another kinase 1 and 2. There were just two of the large number of discoveries in the PCR based screen of kinases, that's why they are called Janus kinase. This is Janus, is actually two-faced Roman god of doorways, because the JAK possesses two near identical phosphate transferring domains. One domain exhibits the kinase activity while the other negatively regulates the kinase activity. So Janus appears in one of the latest films. You might have seen Tourist. Angelina Jolie. JAK-STAT pathway, Janus kinase 1, 2, 3, tyrosine kinase. Look at this carefully, please. See, this is cytokine, which I was mentioning. These are receptors. These are JAK kinases. This is signal transduction, activator, transcription, and this is nucleus with the chromosome. The cytokine is attaching to the receptor. It phosphorylates and it docks. A boat from the river to the shore, it has to dock to some. To the same way, these are all docking agents we call phosphorylation of the. And these STATs ligands go and attaches to the phosphates and they in turn autophosphorylate. So that means they are activated. Then these STATs go and attach to the chromosome in the nucleus. So transduction, translation, I mean the translocation going to the nucleus and transcription. So the gene transcription occurs and produces cytokines. So I was mentioning you can't kill this, you can't remove the receptors from the cell. So can you inhibit the JAK kinases? So there are several of them. They are all called homodimers. JAK1, 3 or JAK1 and 2, JAK1, 2, TYK2 like that. The transductions are also several of them. The example cytokines that signal through JAK-STAT combination is interferons, interleukins. There are several of them. For example, IL-6, IL-11 attaches to the JAK1 and JAK2. JAK2 is actually in the hemopoiesis. The tofacitinib is JAK1 and JAK3 inhibitor. JAK1 and JAK3 growth, maturation lymphoids, the functions, differentiation, B cells, class switching, inflammation. JAK1 and TYK2 are antiviral. There are several of them. These are called homodimers. Look at this again. See here they come and this is tofacitinib. So this is preventing the phosphorylation. So the STATs cannot go and attach here. So they are irrelevant over here. So the gene transcription cannot occur. So here you are inhibiting the intracellular signaling pathway. So by inhibiting that, the production of cytokines is reduced. So once we are all involved in this, Dr. Chandrasekhara, me and then other colleagues have been involved in the drug trials of this drug. The Pfizer was the one which is actually Wyeth and Pfizer. There was a lot of, you must be knowing many NIPs, these are called NIPs. They are useful in cancer. And like methotrexate we have taken as a cancer medicine, this is actually developed to ward off the inflammation in the rheumatoid arthritis. A lot of apprehensions have been there actually, they may be very highly side effective. You are attacking the cell itself, so there may be many problems. But fortunately till now we haven't gone much of them. Tofacitinib is a competitive inhibitor at the ATP binding site. I do not want to bore you with the several other pharmacochemical things. It's a JAK3, JAK1 and of course some on JAK2 also. The human whole blood, the enzymatic assay, tofacitinib inhibits 1, 2, 3 and it's a novel inhibitor of JAKs that modulates cytokine important pathogens. So what are the cytokines which are inhibited? IL-7, 15, 21, IL-6 etc. They then in turn inhibit the other agents. Phase 2, there are several studies. We are involved in phase 3. Phase 2 study to dose 5 mg or 10 mg and then the side effects are increased the liver enzymes, nasopharyngitis, headache, there are certain infections and this is the Xelians. XL, JAK kinase inhibitors, Z I don't know how, it is tofacitinib. So US FDA has approved 5 milligrams twice daily. We have actually, the study was done 5 mg and 10 mg BID. So they were careful that did not approve 10 mg at, so we did with the smaller dose 5 milligrams BID. It has been evaluated in 4,800, nearly 5,000 patients. And if you say patient years of exposure, 7,000. In a multi-center, double-blind, randomized control trials that included 5 pivotal phases, 3 trials and 2 ongoing long-term extension studies in 45 countries. India is one of them. It has approved on November 6th. That is a few days ago. Well, the tofacitinib is also evaluated in other number of autoimmune inflammatory diseases like psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, transplant, rejection avoiding, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, Sjogren's syndrome. And the indications are moderate to severe active rheumatoid arthritis, may be used as monotherapy or co-administered with methotrexate. But it has not to be used along with the biologics. So that is a caution. And it has shown that it is almost equivalent to adalimumab. There are several others, fostamatinib by AstraZeneca. They have shown, and the latest news is that it is as good as tofacitinib, but it has failed their trial to see the equal potency with the biologic agents, adalimumab. So it may be inferior to tofacitinib. Then baricitinib, Eli Lilly is conducting, and we may participate in one of those trials. So where are we between traditional DMARDs and biologics? Traditional DMARDs, all of us know, all of are giving. Then if the small molecules come in India, do we give before the biologics, or do we add them, or do we give after the biologics? That only experience can tell us. So this is the development of rheumatology and rheumatoid arthritis in the last decade. To conclude, the therapy has changed dramatically over the past 20 years. Early use of DMARDs and their combinations is now came into vogue. There remains a considerable unmet needs in therapy, and many new drug trials may raise hope for an even better future for the patient with the disease. And I am just asked to talk on pharmacotherapy, but we have presented a paper also in the latest ERACON Ahmedabad, gene polymorphism, gene therapy. And can we know, for example, if you give methotrexate, some of them fail, can we have biomarkers? If such patient improves with the methotrexate, such patient cannot. And you use, for example, etanercept, a costly biologic agent, infliximab, costlier biologic agent. So if you use them, which patient improves, which patient may not improve. So we need to have biomarkers, and Dr. Renuka may help us in identifying some of them. So if we know that, probably such patients may be given more aggressive treatment. I think I'll conclude here. I'm sorry if I exceeded my time. I'm also excited in the last decade's progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rao.
30 minutes.
Yeah. Rao will be very pleased to answer your questions, if there are any.
Can we have lights, please?
Lights.
Good morning. I am Dr. Arun. I am a medical scientist. I am working in field of oncology, and basically I am also working with regard to the JAK-STAT pathways. And what we have observed is it's not a single pathway that is playing a key role. It does definitely play a role, but what we are now trying to go about with is trying to target multiple pathways. So once you said that it cannot be, the combination with other biological agents has not been done. I would like to know, what has been the reason for that? This is one of my question. The second thing is, in one of your first few slides, you showed regarding, they activated the antigen presenting cell, and subsequently they activated macrophages and the B cell in one of your slides, and you told regarding the various cytokines produced by them. I would like to know as to which is the major key player in that particular pathway. If there is to be a key player, and how would its role be? So these are my two questions.
Yes. The last question first. The key player, now we are identifying more and more key players. Initially we thought a decade ago it's a tumor necrosis factor. But now later on came IL-6. Now we are getting IL-17. So as you rightly said initially, there are multiple pathways. So we cannot say this particular cytokine can be nullified and can get the result. No. Why we are getting so many drugs about drugs? Because the existing drugs are getting failed. So the tumor necrosis factors are helpful only 70% of the patients, 60 to 70. So what about the next 30% patients? So newer biologic agent. Then again 10 to 20% still remain unmet needs. So we are another. So there are multiple pathways which you have rightly mentioned. So the key players are tumor necrosis factor, then interleukin 6, then there are several others are coming. The other one, whether we cannot, why we cannot use these NIBs like tofacitinib with the biologic agents, right? Though the Pfizer does not say, I'm one of the advisory board members, globally, not Indian, tofacitinib has not studied with the biologic agents. In fact, they have shown 2 biologic agents may not achieve good results. In fact, the side effects may be more. One of the examples was anakinra and etanercept, one of the 2. They didn't show. In fact, the side effects were more. So since we are considering this as an oral biologic agent, 2 biologic agents may not be good for the patient safety. So we do not use. In the same way, I can mention that tofacitinib, if it comes maybe next year, it may hit the Indian market. We should not use it with the azathioprine or cyclosporin, just because it has not been studied along with the tofacitinib. But methotrexate, we have studied that.
If you block the intracellular pathways, what about the need for cytokines, which are very important for day-to-day health of the patient?
Yeah, it's a good question. In fact, that was an apprehension to start with. It took so many number of patients have to be evaluated, so many centers have to be involved in this study. That's the question is, if you stop the intracellular signaling pathway and stop them, then how about the others? I mean, the beneficial effects which we have. In fact, the nature has produced that to ward off those the bacteria, cancer cells and other things. But here, for example, if you take JAK1 and JAK3, we are not this is not a blanket cover of all the signaling pathways. If you take one small molecule like tofacitinib, it attacks only the JAK1 and JAK3. So your remaining others, and the signal with pathways which I have shown, they are not again attracted by this tofacitinib. So we are not actually covering the cytokines, stoppage of cytokines blanketly. That's why we seen in the clinical trials as well as in this, no major side effects.
Or would it be that in this disease process, more of these pathways are active and you are blocking them, therefore the side effects are less?
That's right, sir. Yeah. I think you mentioned the simple question, that's correct. So more activated, the pathways are inhibited, so others are not touched upon. Correct.
Rao, thank you. If there are any more questions, Rao is available throughout the day.